Overwhelming is a word that we could use to describe just how we feel when we're entering an entirely new industry. So this is a video for all of our photo booth owners and operators out there that are brand new and are learning everything from scratch. You don't want to waste any unnecessary time and definitely not any unnecessary money putting your energy into finding out exactly what are some of the basic key practices needed for success in this industry. Instead of trying to figure that out for yourself, here's a handy list of 5 tips to help you get moving. Tip number 1 is learn photography. So even if, or especially if you're using an iPad booth, it's really important in this industry to understand the settings and the functions of your equipment. Often when we're out at events, we're met with different lighting situations. For example, we could be placed outdoors when it's unexpected and your standard camera settings and lighting settings may not suit those conditions. So to produce the best images and to serve your client the best, you will need to understand how your camera and how your lighting works. This is something handy to understand. The results of your photo booth or the photos that you produce will either get you more business, so it'll bring more people to your business, or it will scare people away from your business. To make sure that that doesn't happen and that you're producing good photos, you will need to understand photography. Simply by having knowledge, it'll give you the opportunity to outperform your competition just by producing better photos or knowing how to produce better photos and then executing against that knowledge. Where do you start? For beginners, it can be pretty overwhelming to think about how many settings there are or to simply learn photography as a whole, but it actually doesn't take that long to learn the basic functions that you'll need to operate, especially within this industry. You're not roving and you're not taking photos in different lighting conditions every, say 10 seconds. If you walk from here to here with a camera as a photographer, your settings may have to change and you may have to adjust. But with photo booths, they're kind of stationary. They're in one place. In a way, it's set and forget for the evening if the lighting conditions don't change. Here are a few pointers to start just to learn and to get a better knowledge of cameras and photography. Tip number 1 in learning photography is research and understand camera settings and functions. So just go onto the internet and just research what your camera does, look at your camera and play with it. Number 2 is research and understand the difference between continuous and flash lighting. That's going to be really important in figuring out what types of photos you want to produce, how easy or difficult you want your setup to be. It'll determine basically where you move forward in purchasing your next piece of equipment if you haven't purchased it already in terms of lighting. The third tip would be to block out an entire weekend. So block out 2 days, just 2 days to study photography and the functions. I'm not saying that you're going to be an amazing photographer after 2 days. It takes a lifetime of learning and skill to actually achieve prestige and a great result in photography, but you can get pretty much there 80% of the way in a very short space of time. So I would recommend blocking out 2 days, blocking out a weekend just to learn photography. You will not regret it. Go back to your research, figure out what you don't know, and then just over those 2 days learn everything that you need to learn, because it makes sense. It makes sense that you would have to learn this in this industry. It's also a life skill that we can use in the future pretty much anywhere. We have cameras in our pockets now, like in our phones, we have these. So it would make sense that we understand how this works, considering that it's a part of our day-to-day life almost. And it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you learn photography, or once I learned photography anyway, it allowed me to produce way better images pretty much straight off the bat, and that's forever. So since I learned photography, I haven't forgotten that skill. Similar to swimming or riding a bike, I have that knowledge forever, and I can forever produce better photos than I would have if I hadn't learned photography properly. That's it for tip number 1. Tip number 2 is put your website on the print. Pretty controversial topic too. There's a lot of people out there who don't believe that you should do this, and then there are also a lot of people that believe that you should do this, and they both have their reasons. The people who believe that you shouldn't do this usually say this as a they come from a perspective of personal preference. They look at the creative and they would prefer not to see their website on the print because it makes it ugly. They also might think that it affects the user experience. The problem with this thought process is that it's often more self-serving than serving the business or the client. It's more to satisfy the owner or to satisfy a creative need within the owner. That's not a bad thing. That's just a matter of fact. They may have a personal preference that they will impose onto their business, and in turn, that's the result they produce. Not negative, it's just one way of doing it. There's a lot of people that believe not putting their website on the print will enhance the experience of the client and the user. I can report after many years of operating and testing out, over the course of these years, putting the website on and taking the website off, just testing out to see if anything changes or if anything is mentioned or anything like that, I can pretty much confirm that unless you're doing like a specialty event, like a activation for a movie launch or something like that, where you won't want your branding or your website on the printouts for more general like birthdays or weddings or just for more general celebration type events, having your website on the prints makes zero difference to the experience, but it makes a massive difference to your business's lead generation. Putting the websites on our prints increased the amount of people inquiring with us and eventually booking our photo booths for something that makes such a minimal impact on the user experience, but helps you keep and maintain a healthy business. To me, I think it's worth putting your website on the print design. If you're worried about this, you can always design up the print first, and then before the event, you send that off to the client and they can approve or disapprove. They can tell you to remove the website if they like. Actually, I think, like the other week, someone had requested this. If you're worried about this, I wouldn't really worry too much about people requesting to remove the website from your prints. The amount of people, or the ratio of people that keep the website to ask for it to be removed is disproportionately in favor of keeping the website on the print. I think over the course of a year, if we have requests at all, we may get 1 to 2 requests to remove a website, and we do, in excess of 400 events per year. So it's really not that much of an issue. Tip number 3, understand the importance of digital distribution. Basically, know how important it is to send the digital copy of the photos to people who have attended the event and to the client as well. The goal of digital distribution is to have as many photos downloaded or sent to as many people as possible. They act kind of like as a little digital business card, and it makes complete sense to be able to send a branded image to your guests or to your client's guests and your client, and have that living, potentially on the internet forever. Whereas if you hand out a business card or a photo strip, they may have a shelf life. They may have a life where the person who receives the card no longer needs that information, so they throw that in the bin, or even the print is quite fragile, it can be ripped or scrunched, and then that's enough reason to throw it into the bin as well. And then all of your branding, all of your hard work has been lost. So what you want to do is you want to have a digital copy, and you want that to land to into the inbox of the person who's taking photos in your booth. This is like really cheap or free, and it's really easy to do. You can do this in different ways. You can do it either on the spot, sharing via the photo booth screen that the booth software is operating on, or you could have a separate iPad, or you can share the details of an online gallery that you're going to upload the photos to later on, and then people can go and visit that gallery and then download the photos themselves. Quite a lot of my personal friends have messaged me or come up to me and said, hey, like I had a friend who had one of your photo booths at their event, or my friend was in one of your booths at an event. That kind of indicates to me that digital distribution is quite important for brand awareness, especially on social media. Tip number 4 is use online photo collection or gallery solutions rather than USBs. Using a USB, it comes with a few pitfalls. So it can be sometimes cheaper, depending on the volume of your events, to go down the route of using USBs. But if you're doing a high volume of events, you might want to go to a online gallery solution, because you'll pay a subscription for 1 year and it'll just be there for the whole year, and you don't have to pay for any more usage or functions. Whereas USBs, if you go over, say, I don't know, 200 USBs, you've got a lot of jobs, you need another 100 more. You've already paid way more than going with an online gallery solution over the course of a year. And the pitfalls that come with USBs are like clients will lose the USBs. You also usually hand over the USB on the night. So you're transferring images from the booth onto the USB and you just hand it to the client on the night. That's usually the way it goes with a lot of owners. The problem I had with that is that you can't brand the images. What I like to do with our booth images is put our logo in the corner, a little Open Booths logo, our watermark, and we have them in every image so everyone knows who took that image. What we also like to do is rename the files. So we like to brand the actual files, and we'll put like Open Booths and then the event name, and then we will put the date after that. And then of course, like which number image it was. Everything is branded, you know, all the way down the line, and giving people an online gallery as well to access. They can visit your website and then find the gallery through your website. So if people want their images, they have to go through your branding. They have to be exposed to your branding. So that's the benefit of having a online gallery. The online galleries we use are Pixieset and SmugMug. We use Pixieset because it's pretty. We use SmugMug because it's practical. SmugMug can handle pretty much anything. GIFs or GIFs, MP4s, photos, and you can do a lot of customization to it. I quite like SmugMug. Pixieset doesn't do any of that apart from photos. It's great because it looks great. Pixieset looks very pretty to access, and it's displayed very well. You can do this with SmugMug, but it takes a little bit more time, and it's a little bit more tedious because it's more customizable. If you want to go for the full feature set, I would just go with SmugMug and then figure out how to use it and then make it look great yourself. Online galleries also act as a form of social proof. When you upload your albums to your website and you make them visible, people can go to the gallery and then they can see how many events you've done on which dates. So which events have you done recently? And they can also see all of the people that have hired you in the past. They can also get a glimpse into the photo quality as well with the little thumbnail. So it's basically acting as social proof, showing everyone that people trust you with their money and they are actually hiring you, and it's in recent times. And it might be an extra point to convince them or make them trust you or allow them to trust you, and then your chances of booking them will be higher. So online galleries are great in that perspective. It's a display of real clients and real galleries. And if you do this correctly, if you have people collecting photos through your website and you have a Facebook Pixel or Google Tag Manager installed, the people who are visiting your website and going through your website, their data or their identification data is going to be captured by Facebook Pixel or the Google Tag Manager. That'll give you the opportunity to remarket to them or retarget them, after they visited, and you can hit them up with marketing material on social media or in Google. Especially moving, into 2020 and beyond, everything's kind of moving into social more, and it's a big branding game now too. So that'll give you the opportunity to expose the people visiting your website to as much branded content or sales content or marketing content as possible on social channels, simply because we know who they are. Tip number 5. It's the most simple tip out of all of the tips, but it's also the one that I see that's looked over the most. And that is take pride in the appearance of your photo booth. This tip is one that is probably one of the most obvious, one of the most simple to achieve, but one of the most underestimated and looked over factors when photo booth operators are setting up and operating their business. The idea of the photo booth is to entice people to enter it and to have fun, and having an attractive photo booth will help that, and it will also give the client a sense of pride that they've hired you as well. They've spent a lot of money on a photo booth, they spent a lot of money on you, and they want to show off, they want to show you off. It's your job to help them do that, and that will lead to happy clients. What I like to do when I'm at an event after I've set up is I like to take a step back. I've done so many photo booth setups, so many. I've done hundreds. And still to this day, even after I tidy everything up and do everything, I step back and I still find little things that I can fix and tweak and make better. So this is always a tip that I recommend. It's not just going in and setting up the photo booth. Take a step back, enter the room, go into the middle of the room, go at the front of the room, and see what your photo booth and the area looks like from different angles, and make sure it looks attractive for people to walk into it. I'll share some of the common mistakes because, you know, this is probably the thing that's going to save you the most time. The more common mistakes are exposed cables. So this is not a great look. Having a cable that's kind of hanging out to the side or dangling down or is loose on the floor is both like a really terrible look, but it's also not safe. These cables are like they're meant to be taped down, they're meant to be covered up, and in doing this, just this one simple thing, it will elevate the I think it will elevate the quality of your service, which means you can actually increase your price simply by making it tidy and looking professional. Tape down your cables to the floor. I use 3 rows of tape on the same section of cable. I do one on one side, one on the other side, and one on top, and that makes sure it's really held to the ground, and also that when people are scuffling over it, they're not going to be kicking it up, and then your tape isn't going to be wrapping around the cable, which is really difficult to get off. It's super annoying, and you've got all this sticky residue after you cut it off with a pair of scissors. For the experienced owners, you know what I'm talking about. You have to make sure that you do this for both the floor and the photo booth. So if any part of your photo booth allows for cables to dangle down, simply like tape it to the booth. It doesn't matter if it looks a little bit ugly. I can guarantee it looks uglier if you've got a cable just hanging about. Another common mistake is to have messy backdrops. So often, and you can look through all of the groups and all of the photos and you'll notice that so often owners and operators do not zip up or do not straighten up their backdrops. If you've got tension fabric backdrops and you've got the sock that's over the top of the frame, always zip it up. There's no reason why you should not be zipping up your backdrops. I don't get it. Like I get it might be a little bit difficult to do it, but difficulty isn't an excuse for laziness, and you're there to give the client a fantastic experience. And sometimes having an unzipped backdrop at the bottom makes the whole area look crummy. It looks messy and it looks uncared for. And it also allows the backdrop, the tension fabric, to slip up a little bit. So if someone kind of stumbles back, it always happens. There's always someone drunk or thinks that the backdrop is a wall when it's not, and they'll stumble back into it, which will hike up the backdrop from the bottom that's not zipped a little bit. And then in the photos after that, if your attendant hasn't noticed, you're going to have all of these crinkles and all of these weird bits that your inconsistencies that you don't really want in a tension fabric backdrop. So just zip it up. Zip it up. It doesn't take long and it doesn't take that much effort. And then when it comes to drapes, so if you've got drapes that are a certain pattern, sequin ones, you don't really have to worry so much about this, but if you've got a drape and it's got crinkles in it, you'll want to take along a clothes steamer. We do this all the time. We take along our simple like shirt clothes steamer, and then we stand there for about 10 minutes after we've set up the backdrop, making sure that everything is smoothed out, no kinks, and that the photos look amazing once we take them. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope it helped. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell if you're keen on this kind of content. I'll be uploading more and more videos as time goes, and I'm thinking of continuing this kind of raw, talkative style with you simply because it's like quicker and it's easier for me to get out. If you'd like a more produced version, or if you'd like more in-field footage or, video examples of what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments section. Because I want to put in the effort to make sure that you're getting exactly the information you need to achieve the results that you want to achieve, and if more visual aids help that, then I'm willing to do that. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and like the video if you liked it. Yeah, thanks so much. I never know what to do in these outros. It's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit weird, but anyways, love you guys. See you next time, and yeah, keep boothing. Good luck with everything. Bye. All right, I'm going to share a bonus tip with you, which is a little bit of extra homework, and hopefully it helps out a few beginners get to a little bit more of an advanced stage. So this bonus tip would be to learn how to use Photoshop droplets. If you already understand how to use Photoshop, you're at an advantage. But basically what Photoshop droplets do is they allow you to automatically edit the images that you take in your photo booth in Photoshop. So essentially how it works is that your photo booth will have an area where you can browse for a file in the back end and select the file that is the Photoshop droplet. And what will happen is that when your photo booth takes a session, it will send that photo to Photoshop. It will edit your photo with a predetermined set of actions, edits, that you have created within Photoshop. Photoshop will then save and send it back to the photo booth software to display, which means when someone is using your photo booth, they can have a completely photoshopped image probably within 5 seconds. That's amazing. It allows you to create unique filters that are unique to you and your business. But not only that, it also allows you to create some more, unrealistic scenes. Like, for example, I think we were doing some R&D for Madame Tussauds, and I think they were launching Batman or something like that. And we had in the background, so what we did was we had a digital background removal. So we removed the background with Photoshop, not a green screen, and we replaced it with the bat signal. We then put smoke behind the subject, and we put smoke in front of the subject. And I think we also put some like dust particles and whatnot to make it look a bit more, rugged, and a bit more edited. So that's fully possible with one touch of your start screen on a photo booth. It's just a matter of figuring out how to create those kind of edits within Photoshop and then saving the Photoshop droplet file in Photoshop and then inserting that into your photo booth software. So it's quite a simple process when you think of it, but it does require a bit of learning of Photoshop to actually achieve that. Alternatively, you could predetermine what you want an image to look like and simply describe it to someone on Fiverr, or outsource that service to someone who understands Photoshop a little better, and you could create your own filters for your photo booth, and that can be a unique selling point of yours in the future. So what we're finding at the moment is there's a huge flood of new owners and operators in the market. Everyone is providing quite a similar service to each other, and it's becoming more difficult for customers to discern which ones are better for them because they all kind of look the same and they all provide the same-ish service. So something that's helped us stand out is we've created our own custom filters and our own custom looks, and our images look quite different from other images that other photo booths produce. We find that some of our competition have more of a raw look where it's just the photo that comes out of the camera, whereas with our photo booth we process everything with Photoshop and our own filters, so we have a very specific look to our business. So that's something that's allowed us to stand out a little bit and has helped us gain quite a lot more business. So yeah, that's something that you can investigate and try to get yourself to that next level as well.